Namaskar, good evening viewers. It's 9 p.m. and you're watching the news on Sansad TV with me, Rajiv Kumar Singh. Over the next half an hour, we will get you the news on all important that has happened in the nation and across the globe. First up, the headlines at this hour. Nation's first indigenous aircraft carrier IAC Vikrant commissioned. India joins elite group of nations with capacity to build warships. Prime Minister Modi flags off development projects with rupees 3,800 crore in Mangaluru, asserts that efforts to expand manufacturing sector and make in India doubled port capacity in 8 years. Two-judge bench of the Calcutta High Court upholds a CBI inquiry verdict in West Bengal teacher recruitment scam. Britain's Prime Minister candidates on test, postal and online voting by Tory members begins. Winner to be announced on Monday. BJP's Kalyan Chaubey defeats Baichung Bhutia to be AIFF president. First player to hold post in 85 years. Office bearers of executive committees also elected. Now, a quick look at some other important news of the day. Impact of high inflation past its peak, likely to reduce in coming months, says RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das. Sarpanches and Gram Pradhans told to ensure participation of all Gram Panchayats in revamped National Panchayat Awards. Madras High Court sets aside order in favor of O. Paneerselvan in AIADMK leadership tussle with E.K. Palanisamy. Karnataka religious leader Shivamurthy Muruga Sharanaru sent to 4-day police custody over rape allegations. Global coffee chain Starbucks names Indian-born Lakshmi Narasimhan as next CEO. US President Joe Biden calls supporters of Donald Trump's Make America Great Again agenda a threat to democracy. Military court in Myanmar sentences Suu Kyi to 3 more years in prison on election fraud charges. Australia to increase permanent immigration numbers by 35,000 to 1,95,000. Policy change to bring relief for businesses battling staff shortages. Sri Lankan High Commissioner to India, Melinda Moragora, thanks India, says a preliminary agreement with IMF gives his country confidence. And Australian tennis star Nick Kyrgios hit with the biggest fine of US Open for swearing and spitting on court in second round match. Behavior termed deplorable. News now in detail. In a major boost to India's naval might, Prime Minister Narendra Modi commissioned India's first indigenous aircraft carrier, IAC Vikrant, in Kochi. With this, India has entered the select league of nations with domestic capability to develop such large vessels. IAC Vikrant is Indian Navy's second operational aircraft carrier and the largest warship ever built in India.
IAC Vikrant is not a mere war machine, but proof of India's skill and talent. Prime Minister Modi said while commissioning the majestic naval vessel at Cochin shipyard in Kerala. Calling it a historic moment, PM Modi said that India's largest and indigenously made aircraft carrier is a unique reflection of India's commitment to becoming Atmanirbhar. He said Vikrant, which means victorious, is huge, massive and vast. The Prime Minister also said that every Indian is witnessing the sunrise of a new future.
आज भारत विश्व के उन देशों में शामिल हो गया है जो स्वदेशी तकनीक से इतने विशाल एयरक्राफ्ट कैरियर का निर्माण करता है।
On the occasion, Prime Minister Modi also unveiled a new naval ensign, which is inspired by the seal of the Maratha king Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Prime Minister said that in adopting the new naval ensign, India has removed a burden of slavery off its chest.
आज चाहे ऑफशोर पेट्रोल वेसल्स हो, सबमरीन्स हो या एयरक्राफ्ट कैरियर्स हो, आज भारत की नौसेना की ताकत अभूतपूर्व गति से बढ़ रही है। इससे आने वाले समय में हमारी नेवी और मजबूत होगी।
Explaining the massive proportions of the carrier, the Prime Minister said that it is like a floating city which produces electricity that is sufficient to power 5,000 households. 262 meters long and 62 meters wide, IAC Vikrant is the largest warship to be built in India. It can have 30 aircraft on board, including MiG-29K fighter jets and helicopters. It has a maximum designed speed of 28 knots. The 45,000-ton warship has been built at a cost of 20,000 crore rupees. The warship can accommodate a crew of nearly 1,600. IAC Vikrant is named after its predecessor, which played a key role in India's decisive victory over Pakistan in the 1971 war. With Vikrant's induction, India has joined a select club of nations such as the US, the UK, Russia, China and France in having niche capability to indigenously design and build an aircraft carrier. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
India's port capacity has doubled in the past 8 years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on Friday. Speaking on the launch of various development projects in Mangaluru, Prime Minister Modi stressed that infrastructure growth is key for development of a modern India. He said that for a developed India, the manufacturing sector and Make in India need to be expanded. He also said he is happy that the double-engine government in Karnataka is working to fulfill the needs and aspirations of the people at a fast pace. Prime Minister Modi inaugurated and laid the foundation of mechanization and industrialization projects worth around rupees 3,800 crore. These projects include mechanization of a berth for handling containers and other cargo undertaken by the new Mangalore Port Authority worth over rupees 280 crore.
देश में गरीबों के लिए 3 करोड़ से अधिक घर बनाए गए हैं। कर्नाटका में भी गरीबों के लिए 8 लाख से ज्यादा पक्के घरों के लिए स्वीकृति दी गई है। मध्यम वर्ग के हजारों परिवारों को भी अपना घर बनाने के लिए करोड़ों रुपयों की मदद दी गई है।
India and the UAE have reiterated their commitment to reach bilateral trade worth $100 billion in the next 5 years. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar co-chaired the 14th India-UAE Joint Commission meeting along with his UAE counterpart in Abu Dhabi on Thursday. Both countries discussed the possibility of linking instant payment platforms like the United Payment Interface of India. They also noted the cooperation between the two countries in various multilateral forums, especially in the UN Security Council in 2022. They also emphasized the importance of promoting startups and entrepreneurship in different fields such as fintech, edutech, health tech, agri-tech, logistics and supply chains. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Friday met Santiago Creel, the president of the Chamber of Deputies in Mexico. They discussed matters of bilateral significance and exchanged views on strengthening relations between the parliaments of the two countries. At Chapingo University in Mexico, Birla unveiled the statue of Indian revolutionary Dr. Pandurang Khankhoje, who was also an agricultural scientist and founder of the Gadar Party. In Mexico City, the Lok Sabha Speaker laid a wreath at the statue of Mahatma Gandhi. A division bench of the Calcutta High Court has upheld an order of its single bench in the case of alleged irregularities in primary teacher appointments in West Bengal. The single bench had directed the CBI to probe alleged anomalies in teachers' recruitment in the state. The division bench has directed that investigation into the money trail will be done as necessary. The court directed that the single bench order removing 269 appointees from their jobs will remain until disposal of the case. These appointees allegedly got benefit of one additional mark from the West Bengal Primary School Board. The Enforcement Directorate is investigating the money trail in the teachers' recruitment scam. Former West Bengal Minister Partha Chatterjee and his aide Arpita Mukherjee have already been arrested. For the first time in 85 years history, the All India Football Federation has a president who is a former footballer. Kalyan Chaubey was elected to the post, defeating former veteran footballer Baichung Bhutia. Former Mohan Bagan and East Bengal goalkeeper Kalyan Chaubey registered a 33-1 win over among the 34-member Electoral College of Representatives of the state associations. Kalyan Chaubey had represented India at the international level. Karnataka Football Association President N.A. Haris was elected Vice President. Kippa Ajay from Arunachal Pradesh is the Treasurer. 14 Executive Committee members were elected unopposed. Now, let us take a look at news from across the nation. The Central Vista Executive Enclave, which will house the Prime Minister's office, the Cabinet Secretariat, the National Security Council Secretariat and India House, has been granted environmental clearance by the State Environment Impact Assessment Authority. The SEIAA, however, made strong observations about tree preservation aspects of the project. Central government women employees will get 60 days special maternity leave to recover from emotional trauma caused by the death of a child immediately after birth. The Central Department of Personnel and Training issued the order on Friday. The Supreme Court on Friday granted interim bail to social activist Teesta Setalwar, who is under custody since June 26 over alleged fabrication of documents to file cases in relation to 2002 Gujarat riots. She has been asked to surrender her passport till the matter is considered by the High Court. A Greenpeace India report states that more than 99% of India's population is breathing air 5 times worse than WHO's standard of PM 2.5. The report titled Different Air Under One Sky, 62% pregnant women in the country live in the most polluted areas compared to 56% for the entire population. The report says that Delhi NCR region has the highest risk of pollution. The report also listed that the elderly, infants and pregnant women as the most vulnerable group exposed to bad air. Time for a short break here. On the other side, COVID-19 cases worldwide surpassed 60 crore.
G20 is the only forum in the world where you have both developed and developing world together. There is no other forum in the world which can accelerate the pace of growth, sustainability, which can ensure that vast segments of people rise above poverty line. There is no other institution in the world other than G20.
Welcome back to the news. Time now for all the big developments from Russia-Ukraine war front that has now into the 7th month. The UN inspection team has completed a first tour of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear facility and would establish a continued presence at the power plant. Rafael Grossi, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, said that the group has collected important information and would continue its assessment. Grossi said that it was obvious that the plant and the physical integrity of the plant has been violated several times. Local residents also presented Grossi with a petition and documentation of damage caused by shelling in the area. The IAEA mission to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant could still be important despite the difficulties met due to the Russian presence at the site. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said he stated that Ukraine did everything to ensure that IAEA would get access to Zaporizhzhia plant. Ukraine's state nuclear company said that it was difficult for the IAEA mission to make an impartial assessment of the situation due to Russian interference. Meanwhile, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said that Ukraine's shelling of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant was raising the risk of a nuclear catastrophe in Europe. Accusing Ukraine of nuclear terrorism, Shoigu rejected assertions by Kiev and the West that Russia had deployed heavy weapons at Europe's biggest nuclear power plant. He expressed hope that the IAEA mission would be convinced of this. Both Kiev and Moscow have accused each other for weeks of attacking the facility. The Kremlin said on Friday that Russia would stop shelling oil to countries that impose price caps on Russia's energy resource. Russia said that the caps would lead to significant destabilization of the global oil market. The European Commission chief Ursula von der Leyen has called for establishing a price cap on Russian pipeline gas flowing to Europe. She said that this was necessary to fight back against Russian President Vladimir Putin's attempts to manipulate the European energy market. Time now for some other global updates. The US dollar index hit a two-decade high on Thursday, driven by investors' expectations of a sharp rate hike by the US Federal Reserve later this month. Here are the details.
The USDX, that measures the US dollar against 6 major currencies, rose to 109 during the Asian trading session. It accelerated its upward trajectory during the European trading day, before breaking through the 110 barrier to a two-decade high in early US trading. The sharp rise in the USDX was triggered by relatively optimistic US economic data that showed the number of Americans filing for first-time unemployment benefits falling by 5,000 last week to 232,000. The US manufacturing index remained steady at 52.8 in August. The data cemented investors' expectations for a sharp interest rate hike by the Fed Reserve this month that would push the US dollar up against other currencies. International oil prices continued to fall, ending sharply lower for the third day this week as a strong dollar and concerns about a slowing global economy kept the lid on further price rises. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Russia's defense ministry shared footage on Friday of Russian and Chinese ships sailing in the Sea of Japan, participating in the Vostok 22 drills. Take a look.
Russia on Thursday launched week-long war games involving forces from China and other nations in a show of growing defense cooperation between Moscow and Beijing as they both face tensions with the United States. The maneuvers are also intended to demonstrate that Moscow has sufficient military might for massive drills, even as its troops are engaged in military action in Ukraine. The Russian Defense Ministry said that Vostok 2022 or East 2022 exercise will be held until September 7 at 7 firing ranges in Russia's Far East and the Sea of Japan and involve more than 50,000 troops and over 5,000 weapon units, including 140 aircraft and 60 warships. The drills also involve troops from several ex-Soviet nations, China, India, Laos, Mongolia, Nicaragua and Syria. The Defense Ministry noted that as part of the maneuvers, the Russian and Chinese navies in the Sea of Japan will practice joint action to protect sea communications, areas of marine economic activity and support for ground troops in littoral areas. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
COVID-19 cases worldwide surpassed 60 crore according to the latest data from the World Health Organization. Here are the details.
The WHO reported 600,655,262 confirmed COVID-19 cases globally. They include 64,72,914 deaths as of Thursday. The WHO also said that despite a current downward trend in new COVID-19 cases, more hospitalizations and deaths are expected in the coming months as colder weather approaches. According to the WHO's latest COVID-19 weekly update, new weekly cases decreased by 9% to around 5.3 million during August 15 to 21 as compared to the previous week. The number of new weekly deaths also decreased by 15% as compared to the previous week, with over 14,000 fatalities reported. The WHO chief said the current subvariants of Omicron are more transmissible than their predecessors, and the risk of emergence of even more transmissible and more dangerous variants remains. However, vaccination coverage among the most at-risk people remains too low, especially in low-income countries. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And now in World Briefs. A Myanmar court sentenced ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi to 3 years imprisonment with labour after finding her guilty of election fraud. The sentences adds up her jail term of 17 years she is already serving for other offences prosecuted by the military government. The government has threatened to dissolve Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy party before the elections military has promised for 2023. Non-partisan poll watch groups have said they did not observe any election fraud. An explosion tore through a crowded mosque in western Afghanistan on Friday, killing at least 18 people, including a prominent cleric. At least 21 people who were hurt. The blast went off in the Guzargah Mosque in the western city of Herat during Friday noon prayers. The explosion killed Mujib-ul-Rahman Ansari, a prominent cleric seen close to the Taliban. The race to replace Boris Johnson as the Conservative Party leader and the British Prime Minister is in a final countdown stage on Friday. Tory members have to choose between former Chancellor Rishi Sunak and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. Sunak and Truss have gone head-to-head in a dozen hustings, but the votes of 160,000 Tory electorate. Sunak has been on the back foot in pre-poll surveys of Tory members who have a vote in this election. An Israeli attack targeting a Syrian airport tore a hole in the runway and also damaged a structure close to the military side of the airfield. The attack on Wednesday night on Aleppo International Airport comes as an Israeli strike only months earlier took out the runway at the country's main airport in the capital Damascus over Iranian weapons transfers to the country. A man tried to kill Argentina's politically powerful Vice President Cristina Fernandez outside her home, but the handgun misfired. The country's president said the man was quickly overpowered by her security officers in the incident on Thursday night. The vice president did not appear to have suffered any injury, and the man was overpowered within seconds as he stood among a crowd of her supporters. After being stalled for 2 years due to the pandemic, Guadalajara International Mariachi Festival has returned. The musicians from various parts of Latin America and the US, it seems as if one of the country's most important cultural offerings.
The International Mariachi Festival is back on the streets of Guadalajara. For 2 years, the musicians took part in a digital and hybrid format during the pandemic, but this year it's happening in real life. It is the 29th edition of the celebration, and although this time there is no parade, the festival includes mariachis from Mexico, the United States and Latin America. This year's festival can also be watched on social media and open-air TV. Ranked among the 200 most important festivals in the world, it has 10.5 million viewers from 50 countries across 4 continents. The festival will see performances fill squares and malls of various towns in Guadalajara and will feature music workshops and a charro tournament with Mexican cowboys. For the musicians whose practice relies so much on reciprocal energy with a live audience, it is a relief to return. It's also important for business, a way to promote their music and a means for Guadalajara to promote its culture. The genre's inception has deep-rooted connections to Guadalajara. In the 19th and 20th centuries, migrants from the countryside moved to settle in the region and experimented with various instruments. The pastime eventually evolved into a mariachi. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Time now for all the sporting action. Team India has suffered a big blow in the Asia Cup with all-rounder Ravindra Jadeja being ruled out due to knee injury. Akshar Patel has been named as a replacement. Chasing a target of 184, tail-ender Asinta Fernando hit 2 match-defining boundaries that took Sri Lanka to the Super Fours of the Asia Cup with a thrilling 2-wicket victory over bitter rivals Bangladesh. The England and Wales Cricket Board today named a 15-member squad for the upcoming T20 World Cup. Jos Buttler would be leading the side while opening batter Jason Roy has been dropped. HS Pranoy went down fighting in the men's single against Chao Tian-Chen of Chinese Taipei, bringing down the curtains on India's campaign at the Japan Open. Chao emerged victorious 21-17, 15-21, 22-20. Rafael Nadal overcame a freak injury when he accidentally hit himself with his own racket to reach the US Open third round. The Spaniard defeated Italy's Fabio Fognini 2-6, 6-4, 6-2, 6-1 in the second round. Serena and Venus Williams' glittering Grand Slam doubles career was brought to an abrupt end at the US Open as they crashed out in the first round against Czech duo Lucy Radika and Linda Noskova. Williams' sisters lost 6-7, 4-6. That's all in the news for the day. Keep watching Sansad TV and for more updates. Good night.
न्यू इंडिया डिबेट में आज समझने की कोशिश की